and you will take us now.
A few questions. Is this torture? Why do they look like they're about to drop the hardest album of all time? What is Obi Wan looking at? Why is Anakin looking like that? Why is Ahsoka looking like that? Well, I won't answer all those questions, but let's talk about what torture is and do a legal analysis into whether the Jedi committed torture on Cad Bane in this scene.
I will make it legal.
So, as a refresher for those that don't remember this arc of the Clone Wars, Cad Bane has been tasked by Darth Sidious to steal Force-sensitive children after stealing a Jedi holocron in order to be able to experiment on those children. And here we get a clear-cut, non-debatable way of how someone steals a Force-sensitive child from their parents. Notice what Cad Bane does and not what the Jedi do. Anyway, the Jedi are able to catch up with Cad Bane on Naboo as Ahsoka and Anakin capture him. And this is where our legal analysis will begin. Cad Bane is captured. He's not giving up any information. And then Anakin has this bright idea.
We'll have to use the Force to make him talk.
And when Obi Wan casts down on that idea, Ahsoka says,
maybe if we all concentrated on his mind together.
And then after talking very, very briefly about the risks of that idea, they decide to go for it. So before we watch this scene, let's talk about what is torture. Torture in international law is defined by the Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhuman, or Degrading Treatment or Punishment. The convention defines torture as any act by which severe pain or suffering, whether physical or mental, is intentionally inflicted on a person for such purposes as obtaining from him or third person information or confession, punishing him for an act he or a third person has committed or is suspected of having committed, or intimidating or coercing him or a third person, or for any reason based on discrimination of any kind, when such pain or suffering is inflicted by or at the instigation of or with the consent or acquiescence of a public official or other person acting in an official capacity. It does not include pain or suffering arising only from, inherent in, or incidental to lawful sanctions. So to simplify that, there are 4 cumulative elements in the definition of torture. The intentional infliction of severe mental or physical suffering by a public official who is directly or indirectly involved for a specific purpose. So now let's watch the most crucial scene for this analysis.
No! Get out of my head!
Perhaps we should try again.
Careful, Anakin. Your Vader is showing.
I've had enough of that. I'll take you to the holocron.
Alright, so let's bring up our checklist again. So let's start off with the easiest element. We know that the Jedi here have a specific purpose. It's to find the missing kids and to find the holocron. So we can check that one off. Now, do the Jedi count as public officials? You could say yes. There have been people that have been tried and convicted of torture by the International Criminal Court that were military leaders, and not just military and political leaders, but were specifically military leaders. And since the Clone Wars have the Jedi appointed as generals or commanders, I think that qualifies. Next, we have to look at, is there severe mental or physical suffering? I think there's a compelling case for both, just based on his reaction and his faces. I think you could say that there is severe physical or mental suffering. What do you think in the comments below? Let me know. Now let's talk about whether there's an intentional infliction here. Before we talk about it, let's rewatch this part of the scene.
Using the Force to compel a strong mind to cooperate is risky.
There is a danger that his mind could be destroyed in the process.
So, based on these statements, the Jedi know that there are physical or mental risks to the person if they try to force a mind trick on them. So does that mean they were intentionally trying to inflict that upon them? I don't know. I think there's a very strong argument to say that it was reckless or even negligent. Could even say it was grossly negligent. But I don't know if there's an intent to do it. In their defense, I think you could also argue that they didn't intend to hurt him because once the pain started to happen, they stopped. But also, against them once Anakin says, maybe we should try again, kind of also gives a point to maybe they were torturing him. And this is why I think this is the most debatable point of this definition. Yes, they're trying to get information out of them. Yes, they're public officials. Yes, it causes him pain, mental and or physical. But do they intend to cause him that pain to get that information? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below as well. And I know what some of you must be thinking or saying or preparing to type in the comments. The Jedi were just trying to rescue kidnapped kids from the hands of the dark side. Isn't that a justification? And the answer is no. Article 2.2 says, no exceptional circumstances whatsoever, whether a state of war or threat of war, internal political instability, or any other public emergency may be invoked as a justification for torture. So what would be the punishment for torture? Well, the convention itself does not say. What it does say in Article 4 is that each state party shall ensure that all acts of torture are offenses under its criminal law. The same shall apply to an attempt to commit torture and to an act by any person which constitutes complicity or participation in torture, and that each state party shall make these offenses punishable by appropriate penalties which take into account their grave nature. Now for a few examples. In the United States, under 18 U.S.C. 2340A, torture can result in a prison sentence of up to 20 years, a fine, or both. In the United Kingdom, under the Criminal Justice Act of 1988, a person that is indicted and convicted of torture can be imprisoned for life. And in Canada, the act of torture is an indictable offense punishable by imprisonment for a term not exceeding 14 years under Section 269.1 of the Criminal Code. Now, as far as my research can determine, I can't see anything that says torture is illegal in the Republic. Throughout Star Wars, we know various people have used it. The Nihil used it in the High Republic era. The Empire used it throughout the original trilogy, the First Order, or at least Kylo Ren used it in The Force Awakens. And outside of this incident, we know Anakin Skywalker force-choked information out of people a few times over the course of the Clone Wars. So let me know if you think these Jedi committed torture. Not just Anakin, Mace, and Obi Wan who did the actual act, but what about Ahsoka? Is she complicit? Let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know in the comments other legal videos you want to see me do. Or if you all want a polling system to see whether as a community you would find someone guilty or not guilty of these crimes that we discuss. Also, if you like this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe because more legal analysis videos are on the way.